Let me do some housekeeping before we get started. Um, our retreat in Rhode Island is coming up, so we've got a ton of people that are on this call that I'm excited to see you on Sunday. So September 29th to October 2nd, we will be at the retreat. We do have an event coming up, so we've got Top Talk tomorrow, and then on Thursday, we have a top advisor call with Kate Ladon. So she's an expert in personal branding. So if you want to meet with Kate, she'll be with us on Thursday. When we get back, October 3rd, we've got Andy Reese. Andy is the performance and leadership coach for the Chicago Bears. So he's our advisor for leadership and performance. So as long as you don't give him a hard time about Caleb Williams and the fact that the Bears, I think, are 1-2, we should have a good time with him on the 3rd. We have a fundraiser at my house on the 17th for Rayo de Sol and Peter Shaler in Nicaragua. So I'm excited about that. If you can make it to Madison, Connecticut, you're welcome to come visit Meg and I, and we're going to have a good time and raise a lot of money for Peter. And then on October 19th, we've got Head of the Charles in Boston. So I'm really looking forward to that. For anybody who's new to one of our Legend Series calls, the way that the format works is I'm going to do like a fireside chat with Brian for about 30 minutes, and then we'll open it up for live Q&A. So if you have a question, just put in the chat, hey, I've got a question for Brian, and then I'll tee you up and you can ask your question directly to Brian. But this is a fun one. Brian Propp is an absolute legend. So 15 years in the NHL, 5-time All-Star, Philadelphia Flyer Hall of Fame, 2-time gold medal winner for Team Canada. He holds, I think it's 11 WHL records, 13 NHL records, and 22 NHL club records. He was a sports broadcaster for almost a decade. He's a successful entrepreneur and a great philanthropist. So what a blessing it is today to have Brian Propp with us. So Brian, welcome. We're excited to have you here.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming on. Because and if you notice, like I have aphasia, so my speech isn't the best yet. Like I get mixed up with words and math every once in a while. So after my stroke, like 9 years ago, I've come a long way from that because I couldn't talk or walk at the start. It took about a year and a half to do much better, but I'm happy to be alive every day.
Brian, if I ask you a math question, you have permission to punch me, right in the head. There will be no math
Yeah, that's
questions
okay.
today. Anyway, we're excited to have you here. Um, I wanted to start out, Brian. Um, I think one of the things that we think about all the time is, how do you not be a flash in the pan and have like just temporary success? So having sustained success is really hard. And it made me think of you had sustained success for 15 years in the NHL. And something that doesn't get enough notice is I think in your rookie season, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys won 35 straight games, which is a record for any professional sports team in North America. Um, 35 games without a loss. So what would you say to this group about how do you sustain success and not be kind of a, one hit wonder?
Yeah, so like I grew up in Canada, Saskatchewan. My dad was a Lutheran minister, and so he taught me how to be better and how to be the work hard and be not not too crazy, but nice. And so I learned from that. He taught me how to play hockey. And when you're in Saskatchewan, all you do is play hockey and curl and do other things. And because a little town of 300 people, you don't know any better. Like it was in the Midwest, we didn't have media, so we didn't know what was going on. We just lived our life, a simple life, and took care of things. And then we just skated and had fun. And so then I went to Brandon, and then I was successful there with the Melville Millionaires. When I was 15, I tell people I was a millionaire once. And then I went to Brandon for 3 years, and then I got to drafted to the Flyers. But it's all about leadership and having the right people teach you the right way how to do things. It's practice, practice, practice. You just do whatever you do. Like when I was younger, in Saskatchewan, we skated on outside before it got cold, and then we went in when it was 40 below. We went in the rink, and then I skated a lot more, and I just practice to shoot, hit the net every time, and don't miss. And so like it's you learn from that, and you learn how to get better. And of course, I was a good player because I played with other teams and I was younger and played with older players because you had to. We only had my 7 or 8 guys in the team, and so you had to mix it up. But yeah, it's at the start. It's just it's all about practice, practice, good leadership. Like when my rookie season, like the first game, I played with Bob Clark and Reggie Leach on the line, and then I scored a game-winning goal my first game against Bill Smith. And then we lost 9-2. And I thought, wow, is this the way it's going to be in pros? Because in junior, we only lost like 5 games my last year. And so then after that, we went 35 without a loss. So, but having the good leadership, playing with good players, the Flyers at that time, they had 4 good lines, good defensemen, and of course Pete Peters was a rookie that year, and Phil Muir was an older guy, but Bernie Pront got hurt and just ended his career the year before that. But it's all about the leadership that you have. Like Bob Clark was one of the best leaders in the world. I was really quiet and naive. I didn't know what was going on. I just lived with another lady. She did my wash and kicked me a couple meals. But at the start, like I was really naive, and I couldn't even drive. But it was just you learn from good leaders, and then that's how you become consistent and win more.
When Brian, so growing up in Canada where hockey's pretty much a religion, when did it dawn on you that you were different from everybody else and that you had a shot at playing in the NHL?
Well, when in Brandon, we were the Brandon Wheat Kings in the West. So like you had a lot of travel. Like we went with bus all the time. You never flew anywhere, but like a 6-hour drive back and forth to the first farthest game or closest game. So like in Regina and Saskatoon, we're pretty busy, but just about you just learning how to be good leaders and how to be able to manage the time and just to have some fun, made a difference for me.
You had an incredible career. So I think you scored 425 goals. You ended your career with over 1,000 points and 1,000 games played. You played in 5 Stanley Cup finals, but unfortunately were never able to hoist the Stanley Cup. When you reflect back on your amazing career, does that play a role or not really?
Well, yeah, it did because like my first 13 years, I was in the playoffs every year except for the last 2, and so but you learn how to win, especially the playoffs. It's such a different game. You have better players, and it's a lot easier. I didn't ever score 100 points, but I was a team player. I could have scored more, but the team didn't need it, and so I was happy with I did. But I was consistent, and that's why I did as well in the playoffs with like I'm number one all time for left wing scorers in the history of game, left wingers, and so it means a lot to me. But even though I didn't win a cup, like I was 3 years with the Flyer against Edmonton, and then Minnesota, and then Pittsburgh. So I played against some of the best players in the world, like Gretzky and Lemieux, and you name it. And Edmonton was so powerful at that time. So at least we got there. And I don't mind, like, I didn't win a cup, but knowing that I was there and contributed, because a lot of the guys that play, like, they don't play many games and they don't contribute too much. And so even if they won a ring, like I don't know if I'd brag about brag about that, because it doesn't mean to them. But when you're contributing and a winner, it makes a difference.
So you're in the Flyer Hall of Fame, but somehow inexplicably you're not in the National Hockey League Hall of Fame, which is mind-boggling to me. Uh, does it bother you? I asked Tiki Barber, who played for the Giants, this all the time, uh, and I think it does bother him a bit. And I think he's hoping to get in someday. Does it cross your mind?
Yeah, well, in the last couple of years, because I did a video to kind of promote myself a couple of years ago, like Bernie Pront and Mark Howe and Kelly McCrimmon and a couple other guys, and Brian Boucher did the video. It was like a 15-minute video, but I know all the guys that are in the committee. There's 18 in the committee, and most of the guys, like 7 or 8 of those, played with me through that year, but it's kind of political. I know that Jerry Romick just got in this year, and
Mhm.
and a couple of years before that, 3 goalies got in. But I think they want, like, an older guy, because I'm older, but maybe just want to pick one at a time to kind of get somebody another advice. But there's other good goalies or players that are still waiting too, and so you just have to take your time. But I know how good I was, and it doesn't bother me. If I get in, that's fine. It'd be nice, but if not, I'm happy with my life, because after my stroke, you don't worry about life too much. You just you're happy every day, and you like my dad was a Lutheran minister, and I remember when I was young and moving for Brandon, he taught me just to be happy with your own life first. It takes care of everything that you have after that, because a lot of people have trouble doing that. Like you want to please everybody else, but except for themselves. So that's good advice from my dad. And so, I just remember that. But I'm happy every day. I just been got remarried like 4 years ago, and my new wife is she's happy with me every day. And we don't worry about what we have to do. We just live life and enjoy life, and it takes care of itself.
You mentioned both of these gentlemen before, and I wanted to talk about them a little bit. So you played against Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux, and then you played with them on Team Canada. Um, you talk about, I mean, we're the Outlier project. So you talk about an outlier. Wayne Gretzky might be, one of the great outliers of all time. What, Brian, for somebody who was so good like yourself, seeing players like Gretzky and Lemieux, what made them so special? Was it their physical gifts or was it their mindset?
Well, I think for most of the people, a lot of it's physical, but the mental is where you win. Like Gretzky was so far ahead, he saw the ice all the time. But of course, he played with great teams in Edmonton, so like it was, it helps. But just like me when I played for Philadelphia, we had good teams, and so that makes a big difference too. But you learn, like I said, Bobby Clark was one of the top leaders in the world, and I learned from him. And then Dave Poulin was a captain right there. But in '87, I played on a line with Gretzky and Lemieux most of the tournament, and it was a three-game series. It's probably known as one of the best series in the hockey, and so every game was 6-5, and I played with Gretzky and Lemieux most of the time. So it was special for me, but I wasn't in awe because I played with Gretzky for 7 years when he first started, and then Lemieux a couple of times because I played against Lemieux a lot and Gretzky every once in a while, so I wasn't in awe. So like I did my job, and I played. I knew how to play better. The Russians, like I had them check me a little better, and then they gave Gretzky and Lemieux more room with the puck. But that series was special because for me, like 3 times being in the finals and not winning a Stanley Cup, and then so I got to win the gold that year, and then a couple years after went to Boston and Minnesota and lost that too. But it's tough to win. And a lot of guys don't even play in a playoff game now, and so it's just it's where it counts, and so that's why I think that everybody here appreciates it. And plus I give back. I run a lot of charity. I have my own charity golf tournament for the Stroke Center at University of Pennsylvania, and then I have charity hockey events that I run, and play with a lot of charity golf and that give back. But it's about the person and how people appreciate it, and then so it just it's all been really good.
One of the things that every time I send you an email, your email has the word guffaw in it. And so that was kind of your signature when you scored a goal. Tell us the story behind guffaw, because if it makes it into your email address, it's a big deal.
Yeah. So like I got it from Howie Mandel, the comedian, because he had his shows in Atlantic City. And with me living in Philadelphia, and we always had a shore place in Ocean City, which is like out near Atlantic City. So he did his shows, and he did guffaw means a hearty laughter. And so he did a thing like put his hand up with a doob on it. And so I wanted something different when I scored a goal in the '80s. And so I decided to copy him and do a guffaw every time I scored, raise my hand. And so he heard about it, and he didn't mind that I trademarked that because he had other things going on. So I met him a bunch of times, and just a year ago we had dinner together, and just had a couple laughs about that. But he's a funny guy, and he does other shows. So I try to keep him in touch with him. But yeah, it means a hearty laughter. And so I have my own Guffaw cigar brand from the Dominican Republic. So every box that I write, make a little noise and be happy and exciting for a good cigar.
I love it, and I love the way that you look at life. So September 3rd, I think it was 2015, you suffered a pretty significant stroke. Um, and one of the things, Brian, that I admire about you is I've heard you say this in interviews before, that you said you love the challenge to get better. Um, it seemed like you maintained a level of optimism and you never saw yourself as a victim. Um, I guess just talk us through that period of your life, because you were in great health, and I think it just kind of came out of the blue. Walk us through that, and how did you maintain such a positive attitude, and the attitude to really, say, okay, I'm going to attack the challenge to get better.
Yeah, so like in after my career with the doctor Gary Dornhofer, like we found out that I had AFib, and so what happened is I had to start to take blood thinners at that start, and so that was in the early '90s and or 2000s, and then I decided since I was so young, I was going to have an ablation of the heart, which I did like 7 years after that, 2007, and then because I was young, I didn't want to take blood thinners my whole life. But after time, the ablation wore off, the medication wore off. And so in 2015, I was with my family in Annapolis visiting a school for my son Jackson at Novi. The first day I was okay, but then that second night I had a really bad headache and decided to stay in the rented house. And that night, in the middle of the night, like I fell out of bed, hit the side of the bed, lost 2 teeth. All those years playing hockey, didn't lose any teeth, and then I ended up, and then so thankfully my family was there because I couldn't talk or walk at all. I was completely out of it. I didn't know where I was. And it was really it was in Annapolis, and so like it was a long weekend, and so I didn't really know what was going to happen because it was really tough for me because not being able to talk at all and communicate, you just had to point and try to get everyone to figure it out. But after time, and then I got transferred to McGee Hospital in Philadelphia for 6 months, 6 weeks, and every day, and then 5 days a year outpatient. So it took me a year and a half to get better, but my speech took the longest because I couldn't talk at all, and I've come a long way from that. I've done a few different things so that can help me get better, and so like but it was really tough at the start because not being able to communicate and not sure if I could ever talk or walk again, was scary. But I always had a positive attitude and never gave up. I think that's, as athletes, you learn how to get
Mhm.
better, and I always wanted things to happen faster because with the brain injury, you have to figure out that, hey, listen, you got to slow it down, take your time. You want to make something to happen faster, but it doesn't always work that way. So I learned to be a little more patient because, like, for the first year or month or two, like I was really upset because I didn't really know what was going on, and but after time, it just made a difference just to kind of calm down and let your brain heal. And then there's lots of things that we did to help with my stroke. The NHL had a program where they did stem cell treatment in
Mhm.
Colorado. So like I got that. They took it from my hip and recirculated all the blood, and they put the cells back in my body. So at that time, that was a year later, and I immediately noticed a big difference with my speech having a cells in my body, and then it just went from there. I still have to slow it down every once in a while when I talk because it's when you get too fast, you kind of lose track of what's going on. But that made a difference, and then other things that I've been doing, in my book, it have a lot of ways that I can help people have strokes, and blood flow. Like there's a machine called a Beamer machine, which circulates the blood faster in your whole body. I've been using that for 6 years, and so it gives me really healthy, and haven't got sick the last couple of years because it's kind of natural, but it works pretty well.
Your mindset is remarkable. So, you've lived an incredible life. What are some big life lessons that you would want to impart on this group?
Yeah, so like live your life to be happy, but don't worry about work. Just take some vacation time. Like I'm going to go play golf at Pinehurst, and and then in April I've got a hockey event, 3 days in Scotland, and play a little golf in Scotland, and so like but I'm kind of retired, but you can still work, but find time to enjoy the rest of your life. Don't work so hard that you're upset about things. It's not worth it because we're all going to die sometime. And so just take it easy, or just, just work as hard as you have to, but make it fun.
I love it. It's great sage advice. It really is, because we've only got one life, and you know, if you sleepwalk through it, you're gonna regret it at the end. And I think, you've lived a very, very full life, and a lot more to come. Brian, we got a lot of people that want to ask you questions. So you ready? No math questions,
Yeah,
but
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah.
we're gonna go to Mondo first. Mondo, you are up with the legendary Brian Propp.
Let's go. Brian, awesome stuff so far, man. And looking at your body of work and your career, obviously in your craft, which was hockey, succeeded at the highest level, did it for a long period of time. As you look back, what was it where, you get to certain levels of success and you make a change, whether it's a new trainer or a different coach or a new regimen, or even in some cases, like you go to a new team. How do you know when it's time to make that decision? And I guess a better way to ask it, you're never really going to know. So what are some of the signs or the signals that you look back and notice those commonalities for every time that happened for you?
Yeah, so I noticed, like, especially early in my career, because I was naturally talented, and broke all the records in the Western Hockey League, and but in the '80s, like in 1980s, like when Bob Clark, he was just 10 years into his career, and he had another 5 years to start with me. But then we in 1981, the trainer for the Flyers, Pat Croce, who was a 76ers. Now he works for the 76ers, but he taught me how to work out. And so he probably, by helping me work out the right way, made a big difference for me. It probably gave me 7 or 8 years of more life. Like, because in the '80s, like, you didn't work out too much. You just drank beer and had drinks, and had fun time. And there's no videos and things like that. So we got away with a lot of stuff that you don't right now. But yeah, at the start, it was like learning from Pat Croce. And then, of course, we had a sports psychologist, Steve Rosenberg, who the better players used, which made a big difference for me, because I was one of the top players, like Brad McCrimmon, and with Mark Howe. They learn how to use their brain to make everything relaxing, and learn from it. So those couple things made a difference for me for my career. And then after my career, like after 15 years in the NHL, and I played a year in France, and I just had a fun year. And then I started with the Medford ice rink. I built the rink, had to learn about construction and all the things you have to run a rink. And then I did the radio for 9 years. So everything was a change, but you adapt pretty fast, and you learn from the people that you meet. Like when I started with the Flyers, Gene Hart was an announcer, and so he helped me, and Bill Clement helped me. And then I worked with the judge group, like everything else that I've done. Like, I had my financial licensing, I had a health licensing. I tried a bunch of different things. So I just moved from one to the next. But I never thought about playing hockey again. Like, I always played hockey, but I didn't want to be a coach. Because I wanted my family I started my career, went after my career. So, like, I wanted to be home with them. But you know, I didn't want to be one of the coaches. So like that's you're home every day, and that's not for me. But you know, you just do whatever you had to, and then just keep trying other things. I still consult and trying them other things.
You know, it's amazing that you mentioned Pat Croce. So Pat, at that time, was your physical therapist, right? But didn't he go on to own the Philadelphia 76ers?
Yeah, and then I think Ed Snyder wanted to buy him out, but that didn't work.
Yeah, amazing. So this guy went, he had a very successful chain of, I think, physical therapy franchises, and turns out he winds up buying the Philadelphia 76ers, which is crazy. Um, Jason, in Florida, you're up.
Hey, Brian. So I grew up in South Jersey years ago. I'd
Nice
actually,
background.
thank you. But years ago, I actually met you a little after Wolf at a networking event. And what I loved about you, you're always very down to earth. But really, my question's an easy one. Everybody is always giving crap about Philadelphia fans. And I would love to hear it from you personally, your take on Philadelphia fans and how it was being a star player in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah. So like, there's four teams. Like, but playing for the Flyers, like we were the easiest because we were so good for so long that we never got crap with that. You know. So, but you know, the fans in Philadelphia and the tri-state area are awesome, and they're still. It's been a little tough the last 15 years, but they're heading the right direction now with the changes that they've made. But you know, there's always a hope. But you know, when I was in the 80s and 90s, 2000s, we had good teams, and so like we didn't have to worry about that. But the Eagles are getting much better, and the Phillies just won yesterday, and the basketball is good. I mean, so like all three teams are going to be good again. And so I remember in 1980, all four teams went to the championship time, and that was the year we lost to the Islanders because it was number 1 against number 16. So that's why we played against each other in the finals, and then they changed the conference to play more against them. But you know, that was game 6 was an offside goal, which by 2 feet, and so but you can't remind about that. But if we won the game, we could have won the game 7 and gone from there. But it was overtime, and so the ref didn't help us.
And sorry, real quick, I did have one simple math question. What's your handicap?
Well, now because my right fingers on the right side don't work, so I can only swing from here. So I'm like a 15 handicap right now. I used to be like a 3 or 4.
Still better than me. Fair enough. Thank you.
It's pretty damn good. Lindsay Dowd, you're up.
Hey, Brian. I confess I am not a big hockey fan, although I did grow up next to where the Rangers practiced, and my brother and I stole like 100 pucks. Not that we knew what to do with them, but we did. My question actually was about something you said a few times early on in this chat, which was about leadership. And you kept saying there was such great leadership. So what about that leadership was inspiring to you? This is something I care deeply about. So I wondered what really worked for you.
Yeah, for me, the leadership means that you have to trust the right people, and if you have some friends that you work with as a small group, it makes it easier because you can help each other with things that you need help with. Like for me, it's tough for me to sell because I kind of give everything away, and I don't make much money, but other people would tell you yes or no and help. But I know what I am. I'm easy. I grew up in Canada. I didn't know what's going on, but leadership, it's meaning about giving it back and helping the leaders in your team. Like I know, like Bob Clark was one of the top leaders, and Dave Poulin was a good leader, and we did things differently because the leadership made a difference. Having the 3 or 4 guys that can talk about everything and figure things out and don't worry about what's going to happen. Like you take care of yourselves. And every once in a while, you have to talk with the leadership and get them help and to straighten things out. But you know, it's pretty easy when you have good leaders and I learn from the best. And so just being humble and know the right from wrong, and be honest with people, and just tell them yes or no or whatever. It just don't mix it around. Just tell them straight what you need.
Thank you.
I love that. You know, it's what great leadership is so basic. It's all those things. Be honest, be straightforward, all those things that we know, but so few people do. And when you find those people, you know, they can be you know, really influential in your life.
One thing that I know that I do is, like, when I meet people, I always take a picture of them and I put their contact information, put a little note with it. So even if it's a couple years later, I'll know exactly who I talked with, and then I can see who they are I'm talking to. And so that made a difference for me, just by talking with the right people and just putting the right connection, little notes. And it takes a little time. Like every time someone buys a cigar for me or a box of cigars, I put a note behind, and you send them a picture, and you know who I'm talking, and then follow up with them. You know, just it makes it easier.
You may get a bunch of cigar orders after this. Scott,
Yeah.
Colonel Heathman, you are up.
Hi, Brian. I'm a Minnesota native. I've been into Saskatchewan, driven up there many times up to La Ronge, and it's absolutely beautiful up there. Uh, I was curious on your healing side. I've been through very similar lengthy healing process, learning to walk, learning to read, talk, those kinds of things. Did you develop any new interests or hobbies, or something that helped carry you along? You call it therapy. Was there anything that you found as kind of a go-to that you kind of incorporated into that lengthy healing process?
Well, for me, it was easy because just my right fingers on the right side didn't work. My feet still work, and so that's why I can still play hockey, because it wasn't affected on that. And my golf, like I golf right-handed, so like I can always swing from here to here. But like things that I love, golf, fishing, hockey, like if I didn't have that, that would have been really tougher for me. But since my feet are okay and the left side's okay, it made it a little easier for me because I'm still doing the things that I love. And but if not, I probably would have had to figure out a couple more things, because now I like to walk. I walk 3 or 4 hours, 3 miles a day, just to keep healthier and stay in good shape. But just walking makes a difference for me because it helps me think. And then you have to work on, not on your phone, and it has time to like in the morning I'm usually up early, and so like I do on the computer and just do what I have to do there, and then in the afternoon like go fishing or golf or hockey and you name it. But you have to figure it out. But for me, I was lucky that my feet weren't affected on that. So otherwise it might have been different. But you find different things. Like I'm just starting to read a little bit more, but you just take some time.
Yeah. Thank you, Brian.
Tracy, you're up.
Hi, Brian. Thank you so much for sharing your inspiring story today. And Lindsay and I had the same question, so I will pivot on the fly and ask you, are there any lessons or anything that you learned as an athlete that you now apply to your life, or that we could apply to our lives?
Yeah, so like I think like what I said before, like practice. Like they're the outliers. I think that you have to have 10,000 hours of practicing the same thing to get better. But it's like most of you guys you probably have those hours too. But it's just being positive and not getting down, and finding somebody that can help you to practice everything that you want. And I think that it's just helpful like for me, giving back, because the stroke people that I met, I have a whole list of people I call every once in a while, and I try to give them a little hope if they're not doing rehab, they need to just to call them and just say, hey, listen, and just hear back from you, and just call me back and let us know how you're doing, because that a little thing like that makes a big difference for people that are struggling and aren't as good as I am right now. So it's really good just to have some people that you know that you can really help just by a small call.
Love that. Thank you so much.
Love it. Jason, you're up.
So everybody asks all of these great questions. I really am just going to dive into something that I love that you are doing. So I love that you're doing nonprofit work. So I'm a nonprofit founder, so I love that. Thank you for what you're doing with that. But let's talk about cigars. So I happened to just look real quick and glance at your page. I happen to be, that is a vice that I have, along with good bourbon. But I want to talk to you about why, I know you talked about why you use the word guffaw, but why cigars? How did that come about? And why DR? I have my own opinions about DR, and I love that you're doing that. But can you talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, so like when I was younger, I was a good golfer, and so like most hockey players, a good golfer, and so like I liked a good cigar when I played golf, and so that was in the '80s and the '70s, and so we're from Canada, so you got some Cuban cigars, so I liked a good cigar, and so like I wanted a nice Cubans, but you know they're expensive, but I decided like 10 years ago or 8 years ago, I went with Ken Dunnick, a former Eagle, and my son Jackson. We went to the Dominican Republic. We took a trip, checked out a couple factories, and we saw how they're made, aged, and the whole, and they're done. And so we were like 5 days we were there. And so like I decided to make my own brand of cigars from there. And the Dominican Republic was good quality. And so like I had a friend from Saskatchewan that's been here 30 years. So he works in the cigar industry. So he helped me put the blend together for my cigars. So I started with 425 boxes of 10, 56 by 5 inch. And after when those sold okay, and they were quality cigars and good. And then I decided to make a mild, a medium, and a Maduro 6 inch. So like it's a nice size. It's good for people that like golfers. Like it lasts for an hour and they're quality cigars. But I didn't want something that's cheap. I wanted something that's quality. And I've been selling them for like 6 years. And like I have boxes of 5, 10, 24, and bundles of 25. And so like they're on my website, but you know, I can ship for them too because everything's online. But you know, in the area in Mark Island and Florida and New Jersey and PA, like I know golf tournaments that I do, like they buy cigars from me and because they're quality cigars, and then you know, but it's what you like. Like I stopped drinking like 8 years ago, so just I didn't have to, but you know, just I don't want to drink anymore. So I'm the driver, and I have a boat, and so I'm the boat driver, and so I take care of it. So it's one thing that I shouldn't do, but I like a good cigar when I go fishing.
I love that. Love the story. I don't drink that much, and I'm a terrible golfer, but I played hockey in high school and college. So I appreciate you and thank you for making those. I can't wait to order.
Yeah.
Two more questions. Yarrow in Florida.
Hello, Brian. Thank you for this time. Your story, your sustained success, your recovery story, and your mindset are just an inspiration. So thank you for sharing all of that with us today. Like Lindsay and Tracy, my question was going in the direction of leadership. So I too am going to pivot, and a fellow outlier on the call today had to jump early, Tim Duthie. So I'm going to ask his question so he can catch it on the replay. His question for you is, hello from Calgary. I'm a left winger gunning for your record. Part of the challenge to getting better is to tune out negative voices, opinions, and focus on the positive. How did you do that, tune out negative, through your NHL career, post-hockey career, and through your stroke recovery?
Yeah, so for me it was pretty easy because like I was one of the better players like throughout my career, and so like I never really had to worry about getting no's. Like even when I changed careers, like I was always positive, and I had to learn either. But I had the support of all the other people. But since I was a good player, like I didn't really have to have that much. But it's tougher for other people that struggle, and they figure out ways that they get better. So for me, it was kind of easy, but but you have to work at it too. Like that's why my routine is pretty good. Like I'm up early in the morning, I go for a walk, and then I go to the computer, and then I go play golf and fish, and do all those things. And but you can just for work, it's just easier because you follow up with the other people, because so many people don't follow up anymore. I hate when they say a no or maybe. I'd rather they just say yes or no and then leave it away there, because when you say maybe, that leaves the door open, but then they don't respond. So like I'd rather just say no, you don't need this, or yes, just call me back, because I hate when they don't call me back.
We all
Okay,
do.
thank you.
Last question, DBK, you're up.
Hey, Brian, it's good to see you. I appreciate the call out for Brad McCrimmon. Maureen is one of my dearest friends in life. And so I too admire everything that he accomplished. And my son, I'm a hockey mom. My son played the hockey all through college. And I know that the path sometimes requires a lot of tolerance for change. And even being a great player, you had to change a lot. And then in life, you described a lot of changes. And I think I know kind of where you're going with this based on everything you talked about and your positive attitude. But what maybe earlier in your career helped you adapt to the changes as you would shift teams or shift coaching or that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I think that like at the start, like again, like I played with good players, and so having the leadership and playing for the Flyers for 11 years, they taught me how to be a good a professional and PR guy. But it took me like 5 years. Like I was really quiet. Like I couldn't answer questions at the start. Like they had all the guys that could do that for me. So I just learned from that, but I was really quiet and just listened to most people. So the more I listened, the more that I learned, because some people just talk too much and you don't get out of it. But for Brad McCrimmon, like I know it's like 12 years ago since the crash, and I text Maureen every birthday for when I see her, but. He was a good leader. Like he taught me how to be, like I was really quiet and he was the opposite. So, but yeah, I learned from him. Went 3 years at Brandon, and then he went to the Flyers, and so they had Mark Howe and Brad McCrimmon. They played two of the best defenders in the 80s, and so. But just knowing the right people. And like Ray Ellison, like my friend from junior, and he played for the Flyers. He lives in Myrtle Beach. I'm going to see him this weekend. So you keep in touch with other people that you know. Plus, I'm on the board of the Flyers alumni. I have about 200 people with their updated information. So I call them all the time. I do a lot of things for the Flyers alumni. And so that's why my book is coming up, Angel on My Wing, is coming up November 5th. So they're just starting to do some pre-orderings. So if anybody, if like charities, if they want to do a charity, if they order more than 20 books, you get half off. So like rather than $30, it'll be $15 in shipping. So like I'm setting up some book signings and some appearances like after Thanksgiving and a couple of weeks in the Flyers, because the Flyers have some Flyer games. So I'll be there, and the people that I know for the last 45 years. And then in Marker Island, like I'll send some signings from there. So it's just getting started, and so like I'm really looking forward to the people that I know that are interested about reading. But it's more about my stroke and how I recover from the stroke, because most people don't know anything about hockey, and so they'll learn from that. But again, my dad was a Lutheran minister. I had two brothers and two sisters. We're all 13 months apart, so we had our own little hockey team because there's only 300 in a team in a town, and so. But it's so nice for me because growing up in the way I did, with my dad teaching me and my mom teaching me. My mom's 91. She lives with my sister, and she's doing okay. And so it's just I see everybody in Saskatchewan. We go Jan Lake fishing first week in July every week with I've got two brothers and two sisters, and they got about 4 or 5 children, and they're youngs growing up. So it's a good fishing trip that we have every year. And so I get to see all of them there too.
Well, we are very excited for the book. I love what you just said. The more I listened, the more I learned. And so many people are talking too much, and they're not taking the opportunity to learn. So what a blessing it's been to spend this time with you and to learn from you and your remarkable career, your incredible life. And we're excited for the book to come out. So Brian, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you.
Oh, thanks everybody for coming on.
Thank you, Brian. And enjoy all of your adventures. It sounds like you got a lot of fun stuff coming up. Enjoy.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, it's living life every day.
I love it. I love it. Thank you, Brian.
Okay, thank you.